The city is redoing its bond structure for the Marietta Conference Center. I'd like your thoughts on what the city should consider going forward with the Marietta Conference Center.
Okay. It seems that after we've seen everything fall out here, the bond reissuing is probably a good idea, and it's in our best interest. Kind of consider it like refinancing your house. My wife and I bought here, and we started with a 7-1 ARM. It adjusted this year. Rates are kind of at historical lows, so we actually refinanced. We refinanced at the very beginning of this month. It made financial sense for us long term, just for that stability. And it turns out that's maybe how it ended up for the city as well. The problem is how they went about it. It made it seem like it was just kind of being rushed through, and I guess not enough clarity was provided for either the public or the council, who was expected to vote on it a couple days after the issue was even presented to them. I feel like if we'd kind of used some of our 21st century communication tools, we could have probably avoided a lot of this public relations fiasco and essentially run this thing in reverse. Get the independent legal counsel opinions, present those to a citizen group and let them review it and come up with their kind of ultimate findings. Put that information out there, not only for the council, but also for the public. We've got a website, let's use it. And then basically, after people have had time to kind of reflect and contact their council members, then have them vote on it. It's just one of those issues where we want to make sure that we're as transparent as possible, and I think that people sometimes feel disengaged kind of beyond the ballot box. And we have the tools to communicate with them better these days. Let's break some of those traditional barriers, and let's use these communication tools to better public relations between the city and the citizens.
And Steve.
Thank you. The bond issue's been near and dear to my heart since 1996. I would like to say I'm a conservative in the point of view. I like the traditional definition of a city. You know, general obligation bonds, revenue bonds, and I think Georgia law has expanded so much for cities through the help of things like the DMDA have expanded their role and how far they can go, and I think it is basically deprived the citizens of a chance to have input. You know, right now, with the original $26 million that we had in the conference center in 1996, then another $4 million in 2003, another $7 million in 2004, and then another $2 million in 2009. Now, when they convert the other, you know, we're going to have $38 million in the hotel business or the retail or the real estate management, which I don't know if that was the goal. You know, the $38 million, we could have had 2.5. We could have 1.5 park bond issues. So I think we have a lot of money to get in this hotel, and I think we just have to be careful in the future. But also, as it pointed out, I think what evolved out of that, you know, good comes out of controversy is, you know, a structure where you have a separate bond counsel, a separate finance director, where you do bring in balances. And I think the Citizen Overview Committee did serve a purpose, and I think that looks to me like that's going to be that has evolved in what our procedure will be in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Bill.
Okay. The bond issue, we've had a lot of discussion related to it, and the whole concept comes from the revenue bond concept, that if you have something, you have a bond that goes that's associated with it. But I learned in some of the meetings that we had related to the bonds is that the Supreme Court allowed cities to move the money around in different ways. And of course it had to be structured in certain aspects. So everything looked like a shell game. This money was being moved around. In fact, you go to my site, billboltonmayor.org, have a thing about how a taxi company may have 20 different bonds, and you can't figure out where the money's coming or going. And what the Supreme Court basically apparently said, I haven't read the details of it, but it allows you to have different organizations. And one of them is, of course, with the Downtown Marietta Development Authority, which is the DMDA, is one of those capsules. And this movement of the money turns out to be, allows the city several ways to moving around. And my real issue is, if we've got a hotel and we've already committed to it, we need to be attracting tourists to our city and start to be serious about being a tourist city. We've got a lot, we're like halfway there, but then we don't go all the way. And one of my favorite stories is about the lamp store that we had about 10 years ago, that we should have put some effort on keeping the that lamp store here because it was such an attraction to a lot of people.
Okay. I'm going to stay with Chris on this because this is a follow-up question that just came from the audience. Just yes, no. Would you support selling the conference center?
When the time is right.
Steve?
Yeah, I wouldn't support it right now, but I think we ought to start developing an exit strategy.
Okay. And Bill?
I think we need to start looking at whether we want to be a tourist city or not and have a long-range plan for that.
Okay.